Nobody remembers the exact day humanity disappeared. History books were never written, governments never issued final statements, and no survivors lived long enough to tell the complete story. What remained were corrupted files recovered from abandoned military servers, fragments of security footage buried beneath encrypted archives, and one classified document stamped with two words that should never have existed: Project VX-17. Publicly, Helix Bio Research was celebrated as one of the most advanced biotechnology companies in the world. Their advertisements promised revolutionary treatments for paralysis, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and organ failure. Investors poured billions into the company, believing they were funding the future of medicine. Hospitals signed contracts before the research was even completed, and governments quietly offered unlimited financial support. But beneath Helix's modern research campus was a facility that never appeared on blueprints, hidden nearly a kilometer below ground behind reinforced steel blast doors. The employees who worked there called it Sector 9, although no official record ever acknowledged its existence. It was here that scientists began developing VX-17, a serum unlike anything the world had ever seen. Unlike ordinary medicine, VX-17 wasn't designed to heal the body. It was designed to rewrite it. Using billions of programmable synthetic cells, the serum could identify damaged tissue, replace dead cells, strengthen muscles, regenerate organs, and reconnect neural pathways that had been destroyed. During early animal trials, the results seemed impossible. Broken bones healed overnight. Fatal wounds disappeared within hours. Blind animals regained perfect vision. Aging appeared to slow dramatically. The scientists believed they had defeated disease itself. The military believed they had discovered the perfect soldier. Neither realized they had created something that no longer needed humanity. As testing continued, strange anomalies began appearing. Laboratory animals injected with VX-17 didn't stop changing after they recovered. Their muscles continued growing. Their reflexes became unnaturally fast. Brain activity increased far beyond normal levels. More disturbing still, animals housed in separate rooms began behaving identically. They slept at the same time, moved at the same time, and reacted to unseen stimuli simultaneously despite having no physical contact. Researchers dismissed it as coincidence until one morning every infected animal turned toward the observation window at the exact same second and remained perfectly still for nearly 6 hours. They weren't looking at the scientists. They were waiting for something else. Several researchers demanded the project be suspended immediately, warning that VX-17 was evolving beyond its original programming. Their reports disappeared before reaching senior management. Helix executives refused to slow down. Military contracts worth hundreds of billions of dollars had already been signed, and the pressure to begin human testing became impossible to ignore. The first human volunteers were terminally ill patients with no remaining treatment options. Most died within hours, but a handful survived. Those survivors displayed miraculous physical recovery. Cancer vanished completely, damaged organs regenerated, paralysis disappeared. News of the success spread rapidly through the facility. Celebration quickly turned into concern. The patients stopped speaking to doctors. They barely acknowledged family members. Instead, they spent hours staring silently at walls, ceilings, or empty corners of their rooms. Brain scans revealed synchronized neural activity between every surviving patient despite complete isolation. Their brains produced identical electrical patterns down to the millisecond. It was as though they were connected to a single invisible network. Scientists shut down communications between the testing chambers, believing hidden equipment might be interfering with the scans. Nothing changed. Then Subject 12 smiled. Security footage showed him slowly lifting his head toward the camera before forming a slow, emotionless grin. At that exact moment, every surviving subject inside Sector 9 smiled in precisely the same way. No audio had been transmitted. No visual contact existed between them. Yet somehow they reacted as one mind. Fear began spreading among the researchers. Requests for project termination multiplied daily. Helix executives ignored every warning. They believed VX-17 simply required further refinement. They had no idea the serum was no longer responding to human control. 3 weeks later, every surveillance camera inside Sector 9 shut down simultaneously for exactly 12 seconds. Engineers blamed a software malfunction, but when the footage returned, every infected subject had changed position. One patient who had been restrained to an operating table now stood inches away from reinforced glass. Another had moved across a locked room without triggering a single motion sensor. A third somehow held a surgical instrument that had been stored outside his containment chamber. No door had opened, no alarm had sounded. The missing 12 seconds remained permanently corrupted. No data could ever be recovered. Panic spread throughout the underground facility. Additional security teams arrived while military personnel established emergency quarantine procedures. Every infected patient was transferred into thicker containment chambers lined with experimental shielding designed to block every known electromagnetic signal. It made no difference. The synchronized brain activity continued uninterrupted. On the 27th day of human trials, the containment breach finally occurred. There was no violent escape and no dramatic explosion. A senior researcher calmly walked into Subject 12's chamber using his own security clearance. Surveillance footage showed him removing his protective mask, unlocking every containment cell, and smiling before standing perfectly still as the infected walked past him. Later analysis revealed the researcher had shown no signs of physical infection. VX-17 had altered his brain long before altering his body. The infection wasn't spreading through bites, blood, or air. It spread through the nervous system in ways science couldn't explain, silently rewriting the human mind before any visible symptoms appeared. Within 40 minutes, Sector 9 had gone completely silent. Hundreds of scientists, soldiers, and researchers vanished without leaving signs of struggle. Military response teams entered the facility before sunrise, expecting to eliminate hostile infected subjects. Instead, they found spotless laboratories, untouched equipment, and empty corridors. Then one soldier noticed movement behind reinforced glass. Hundreds of pale figures stood motionless in complete silence, watching the rescue team without blinking. Before anyone could react, every light inside the facility shut off simultaneously. Backup generators failed. Radio communications ended. 31 minutes later, headquarters received one final automated distress signal containing only 7 words. Do not let them reach the surface alive. The warning arrived too late. Several researchers had already been evacuated by helicopter hours before the lockdown began. Airports remained open, flights departed normally. Cities continued living as if nothing had happened. Within weeks, hospitals across the world reported patients recovering from impossible illnesses. Cancer disappeared overnight. Fatal injuries healed within days. Governments secretly approved limited VX-17 distribution among military personnel while stolen samples flooded the black market. Millions willingly accepted the serum, believing it represented the greatest medical breakthrough in history. None of them realized they had accepted the next stage of evolution. The physical changes came slowly. Eyes turned pale gray. Sleep became unnecessary. Hunger disappeared. Emotional responses faded. Families reported loved ones standing motionless for hours, silently staring toward the horizon. Across every continent, millions of infected people began looking toward the night sky at exactly the same time each evening, as though responding to a signal no ordinary human could perceive. Then, without warning, the cities went silent. Cars stopped in the middle of highways. Television broadcasts ended. Emergency calls ceased. Entire nations simply stopped. Years later, deep beneath the abandoned Helix Bioresearch Facility, emergency power unexpectedly returned. Dust-covered monitors flickered back to life. Across every screen appeared a single message that no scientist had ever typed: humanity was never the final version. Seconds later, a second line appeared beneath it. VX-17, evolution complete. Somewhere beyond the reach of those forgotten laboratories, Billions of pale eyes slowly opened in perfect unison.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।